speak, but on behalf of the Suffolk City Police Department, and certainly on behalf of Chief Russell Rourke, who had another engagement at the last minute, they couldn't make it. But for all practical purposes, I'm the Deputy Chief of Police of the Suffolk City Police Department, Alvin Holston. I think it would be safe to say that the past 2 weeks or a week or so here in our Suffolk community, we've had a lot going on. And one thing that's always very important is that the public needs to continuously be informed of significant occurrences which may happen within the city. So I think it was a wise idea for us to call this brief meeting for the neighborhood watch group so that you all can kind of push some information out. And if you have any questions on behalf of the city, that we can answer. But I'm going to step away for a minute. We have a number of folks from the city, fire, and the police here is going to give a little presentation, but I certainly want to step back and I want to introduce and let our mayor, give you all a little welcome, and he have a few words to address you with.
Thank you. How many neighborhoods do we have represented here? Do we know?
North side.
Well, one thing we're trying to accomplish with this is we've got, what, 27 or so neighborhood groups, and we just can't physically have 27 meetings with everything going on. So what we're hoping y'all will do is go back into your neighborhoods, take this information and what you learned today, and tell your neighbors about it, to at least get them thinking about what they need to do. And it's been a tough couple of weeks for your, and I say your first responders, the police, the fire, but you know, parks people have been out there. If you've seen Swan Lake, it's in pretty bad shape. We had utility people out in the rain trying to find leaks to get pressure back up so we could have water again. It's been an effort of everybody, and it's taxed us pretty severely. Not me. Everybody says, oh, I know you got it so rough. I got enough sense to know what I can do, what I can't do. I can't go out and keep streets clear, and I can't rescue people, and I don't know how to deal with swans and stuff like that. What I do know how to do is when we did get our certification, I know how to get on the phone and raise a little cane. So that's, we've been all working together, and I can tell you, you can be very proud here in Sumter. I don't think there's anywhere around where, and we got county council Jimmy McCain here, there's no place I know of where the city, county, schools, state elected people are all working together. Just to give you an example, on Old Manning Road, which is out in the county, city workers were actually doing the road repairs there. The state was providing concrete and everything they needed, the materials, but we were trying to just get the job done, no matter who was doing it. That's what we didn't do. There were stores that opened for us and let us get what we needed on Sunday. There were stores that were helping us out at night to get what we needed. It's really been a community effort, and that's the way we're going to come through this, just like we did with Hugo. I think in a lot of ways this is worse than Hugo. You know, Hugo, you walked out in the morning, the sun was shining, you could see what you had to do. This thing went on and on, and I don't mind telling you, I felt like crying at times. You're just out there watching that rain. It's depressing. Imagine 40 days of it. That's a scary thought. And that's probably the kind of rain they saw for 40 days. But anyway, I don't think we know the full extent of road damage yet. There are things that could have been started that are just going to keep on getting worse. I don't think a lot of people have, I think some people haven't come back to their houses yet, because there are areas that I know that are very low where I don't see any stuff out in front of the house. And I also hear stories of people who are still staying in their houses, hoping that mattresses and furniture are going to dry out. And that's another reason we want to have this meeting today, because we want you to get out the word. It's not safe to do those kinds of things. And it's mainly people who cannot see a way that they can replace what's been damaged. but there are ways to get some help. And that's another reason that we're here. I would encourage everyone, even if you don't think you'll ultimately file a claim, to go ahead, go online, or either go down to the exhibition center and get a FEMA number. There's a deadline, 60 to 90 days on what is it? It's either 60 or 90 days that you've got to file. If you find out you've got a problem 10 days after that deadline, you can't file. So if you've got something going on that may be worse than you think and it doesn't show up for a while, you're out of luck if you haven't gotten that number. That's my understanding. The other big thing is Washington only understands larger numbers. We know that. So we want them to see the full extent of the loss that we have here. So we need anybody who had any damage or anybody who thinks they have any damage to go ahead and file. A lot of things, I mean, FEMA has been pretty good in here. They came in early. They're still getting ramped up completely. But, and one unfortunate story, Tanya, I think you told me if you read the article in the paper yesterday about the couple that they got moved. Well, I really had very little to do with that. Just show you how good it was. The lady, the daughter emailed me, and she was a little upset, said nobody was helping and that sort of thing. So I emailed her back immediately. I said, well, you didn't tell me who your parents are or where they are. Well, by the time she got back to me, somebody had already gotten to them and gotten them away from there. And within a day or so, they had an alternative home. But Tanya, you told me this morning, the older gentleman, the father, passed away. He was very ill. But I can assure you that our police department and the helping people in our community made sure they were very well taken care of. And it was gratifying, the email we got after it was all over, because it was a little different than the one we got in the beginning. And I've had that happen quite a bit with people calling and saying my grandchild's stranded in Sumter, my daughter's stranded in Sumter. And what I found every time when I got to the bottom of it, people had already taken care of it. So, I mean, you can be really proud of the heart of our community. I can't tell you much about the particulars. That's why we've got other people here. That we can get your questions answered. If we can't today, we can get you an answer. We're counting on you to be the captains and leaders in your neighborhoods and trying to get this information out. What I said yesterday when we were opening the Advanced Manufacturing Center is we've taken a pretty heavy body blow, but we got some counter punches, and our counter punch is working together and working hard like we do in Sumter, and we'll come through this even stronger. Our city folks worked really hard to get Swan Lake open back up as much as we could, because we believe it's kind of the pride of Sumter. It's our crown jewel. It's a great place to go when you got some stress to just see the beauty of it, and it's not as pretty and nice as it was, but the north side, the Bland side, is fully open. The Heath side probably will not be fully open for some time because the dam burst, but the birds have got water, the recovery wing is still up, and you can still go on the visitor center side. The Garden Street side is completely closed off. The dam broke about 100 feet. It's pretty bad, so it's going to take some time to get that done. But we got it done. We got our water back going pretty quick. We didn't have a lot of problems, and I've heard some complaints about drainage, but I can tell you in most places, no place in Sumter was designed to handle the kind of rain we had. You were going to have flooding with this no matter what. But in most places, the water went down pretty quickly once the heavy rain stopped, because we have been, if you've seen around town the last few years, city workers have been vigorously replacing pipes, old pipes, trying to make sure things are better. So we're open for complaints, we're open for compliments, we're open for questions, and just hope you feel this is worthwhile. And if you think we need to have another one in a couple of weeks, I think we can probably do that too. But it's going to be a lot better if we can have a core of people that will go out with the message of the information, and people we can maybe shoot emails to and things to follow up on this. So thank you. I'm proud to be your mayor. I'm even prouder after times like this when I see what people in Sumter can do when we work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for roll call, Mr. Mayor, it's 20 people representing 11 neighborhood watch groups, and we do have 2 representatives from Red Cross, so I apologize for that. But I'm gonna let you all hear from Captain Jackson. He's Patrol Division Commander, been very instrumental on the groundwork of the uniformed men and women that have circulated throughout the city for the past 2 weeks. I'm gonna let him give you an update on the police department's operation over the past 2 weeks. Captain.
Good evening. First, before I get started, I want to take this opportunity to kind of thank the Red Cross and our faith-based community for all the assistance that they gave to law enforcement during our time. We were doing 24/7s, which we didn't have a whole lot of time to go home and get anything to eat, so they provided food and other things for law enforcement. So I just want to say thank you to you all for doing those things for us, because even though you were in dire straits, we have families also, but we have to set them kind of aside and kind of take care of the immediate problem.
Captain, there were about 6 or so first responders, firefighters, officers, and deputies that
Lost everything. Yes, that's correct. We had 4 officers in our agency that lost everything during this entire time, but they never wavered once. They came out and continued to do their job, and that's what we do. We started our emergency response on Friday, October 2nd, in anticipation for heavy rains. As we progressed through the weekend, by Sunday, it had rained so much our waters in our creeks, our rivers, and little water spots, retention ponds had rose to the level where they start to overflow into neighborhoods. At that time, we brought out additional resources, which allowed for the chief to bring in additional people to help with some rescue efforts. During that time frame between that Friday night and October 9th, the total number of calls to service that the law enforcement community engaged in were 4,471 calls to services. The police department had 2,328 of those calls. Sheriff's Department had 1,244 of those calls. Fire and EMS, 899. We assisted 158 stranded motors during that time frame, conducted 87 welfare checks, participated in over 40 home rescues on streets such as Sassafras, Porter, and Gaines Road. We had approximately 325 total contacts with persons in assisted role, but we went in and kind of helped them get out of their homes because the water had risen to a level where it was unsafe for them to stay. In addition, the city PD also helped evacuate Carolina Avenue, Lantana Apartments, Harmony Court, Dallas Drive, Palmetto Point Apartments, James Village, both Miller Arms and Sunrise on Mill Road. We also rescued over 40 residents from Maryland Healthcare also during this time frame. During this time frame, we also brought in additional resources. All our manpower, everybody was restricted from time off. We brought in folks who were actually on vacation, brought them in so they can continue to give other individuals time off so that we can rotate and keep our officers fresh during this total event. We kept people on the ground. We went into an emergency where there was a curfew enacted. During this time frame, we had to have additional manpower to make sure that everybody kind of adhered to the curfew itself. Once the curfew was enacted, officers maintained a visual. They were very visual in our neighborhoods. When we came back in on Monday, when the water started to recede by Monday, Tuesday, we started to do more residential patrols in an effort to folks started to bring things out of their homes, place them on the side of the road. They were instructed by the insurance company or FEMA personnel. Our roles kind of changed at that point. We had individuals riding through neighborhoods, seeing things on the side of the road, thought they were there for them to just kind of rummage through and take. That's not the case. We also put out information. If you see people do that, call law enforcement. We responded to several calls of that nature. On Saturday, the curfew was lifted. That night, we responded where 4 individuals decided to go into someone's yard and just help themselves. They spent the night in the Winkles Inn. I'm not sure exactly, but they may have been bonded out by this time. We did a public information campaign where we kind of informed folks that things that are in folks' yard are not for your pleasure to go and just kind of take other people's property, because they have to account for that stuff with their insurance company or FEMA. Somebody wants to see these things. So in the recovery phase, those are some of the things that we did. Our manpower is still up. We are continuing to patrol our areas. we're still running additional shifts in an effort to make sure that your property is safe. We're in your neighborhoods, can't be everywhere at all times, but we try to be as visual as possible. Today is one of the busiest days I've seen. We don't even have any rain on the ground. We must have had about 50 wrecks before 12 o'clock. You know, so it's been very busy all day. We're continuing to get out there and do our job. A couple of things that we want to do during the rebuilding phase. We want to caution all our citizens. Make sure that you're very cautious with people approaching you to do work, to rebuild, help you rebuild. Make sure you pass this on to individuals that are not here, because you're going to have a lot of people who probably never did any roofing work a day in their life. They're going to come in here with a belt around their waist, a hammer hanging off of them, and tell you they can do roof work. They're going to give you some information a little later about what they need, some of the credentials that they need to have to make sure that they're legitimate in their efforts. We want to make sure that you're safe. If you have any questions about anybody that come to your home, please feel free to call our non-emergency number, 803-436-2700. We'll send an officer out. We'll attempt to identify these individuals for you to see the legitimacy of these individuals, to make sure that they are legit. If they're not legit, we'll take it to another level from a law enforcement perspective. And that's not only for contractors. You're also going to have people coming, insurance companies, cleanup crews. If you feel like they are not there for your purpose of helping you, please call us. We will be glad to assist you. And this is part of the recovery effort.
Let's get your number, no matter what kind of damage you think you may or may not have had. If you were touched by this flood in any way, your house and property, get a number. Because if, I think Mayor, you pointed out, if you don't have a number 6 months down the road, you don't know what maybe your foundation is like. It could affect anything on your property. Get a number, because then if something happens, you can go back to FEMA and file for more claim. So I think that's it. One new program that just came up this afternoon, and it will be starting hopefully soon through United Ministries, is what they're calling 3 days, where they're going to start a campaign. And actually, we've had a lot of volunteers locally, as well as a lot of calls from out of the county, out of the region, and out of the state, wanting to know what they can do. So United Ministries is putting together a program called 3 Days. And they're going to be encouraging volunteers from all over the country to come to Sumter for 3 days. And those 3 days, there'll be teams that will be assigned to homes to help them rebuild, to help them get through the process, to help them, do any kind of rebuilding and cleaning out that they could possibly need. And that's on the long term too. Mark is planning on putting that program into place, so it's available now throughout the rest of the year, or even into next year. So that's it.
Shelley, I think we're still telling people that if someone calls you, or if you have a large amount of goods that you want to donate, go through United Ministries.
United Ministries and United Way, they have the housing. They're actually coordinating. They're coordinating with all the churches and other nonprofits in the area as well. So even though somebody's doing maybe something separate, they're just making sure that they keep it all. Because what we have to do from the city and county perspective is we have to keep track of every volunteer that volunteers during this process. They want to know the hours, they want to know the manpower, they want to know basically what followed, because that helps them, in a sense, judge how bad this was on Sumter. And so they can look at it, and the same thing goes with your FEMA number and your confirmation numbers. If you don't apply and you don't put it in there, it doesn't become one of our numbers, so therefore, they may classify our impact as not as bad as what maybe some other areas are. But anyway, so it all gets added up in the end, and it all gets submitted to FEMA as far as what work has gone into the local community. So again, there's plenty of resources out there to help you and help your neighbors, and we just want to make sure that you have all the right information to pass out to them.
Chief, if I could, and once again, I urge patience, because if you've already heard this, stop me, but FEMA does a lot of great things. But if you don't do it exactly the way that they want it done, you don't get reimbursed. And your city and your county cannot afford what we're facing. I think it's a $400,000 level you've got to reach before they'll look at you. We reached that just on equipment that was lost at the fire station.
Yes.
So it's going to be, and we're going to have to hire somebody to help us work through all of this. We know how to handle storm debris. We know what to do on that. If you remember when we were doing that, remember people were calling me and saying, why you got that car following the truck wasting time? Well, because that person's out there with a GPS, you gotta put everything. And the reason is the system gets abused in some places. So what's resulted is you've got a lot of detail, a lot of checking up. So be patient. We're gonna need, it's a 75% match. We have to do 25%, feds do, state and local do 25%, feds do 75%, but our congressmen are already working trying to get that 25% reduced. So it's gonna be a long process, and I'm not gonna tell anybody that Swan Lake will be open in a year like it was before. I'm not telling anybody all the roads will be ready in a year. We just don't know, but I doubt it. But we're gonna come through this just fine if we work together, stay patient, and I know we get disgusted sometime when people say I'm from Washington and I'm here to help you, but we need their help. So I just want to throw that in. It's going to be a tough process. There's money to be had from what? Community development block grants, EDA, Small Business Association Administration, and we've got to make sure we try to position ourselves to get as much of that as we can, because we can't handle it locally.
Please remember too, if you get denied by FEMA individually or in any way, appeal, because they will come back sometime and accept things. But even if you get appeal, we still get that money amount up there that we need to get up there.
I was going to touch on that actually as one last point for FEMA when I was talking about the impact for the community. And yes, and I know we follow our social media, we follow online, and we see people calling into our elected officials all the time, or at least in the past week, saying FEMA denied me. FEMA denied me. So appeal, a lot of times what it is FEMA is just saying, okay, there wasn't a form that was completed accurately, or maybe there was maybe you missed answering a question on the form. I mean, they're very stickler when it comes to filling out their forms and the data that you need to provide to them. So if they ask for it, provide it. And then again, if they still appeal, or if they still deny, go in and appeal it again. I have heard stories about some people coming in saying, the third time they finally did it. But if we get those numbers up there, that's where our community classification is. So the higher it is, in a sense, the more aid we get. Yes, sir.
I was going to say that if someone is denied and they've done it either online or by phone,
Go
the
in.
next step is go down to the Civic Center and talk to someone face to face, because they can look in the records and see what's missing and can be corrected right there, rather than trying to go back and resubmit it again or talking to someone on the line. Get to someone and talk to them face to face.
Yes.
Because they'll